Welcome to the Town of Smithfield Planning Board meeting for January 16th, 2025. Before we begin, I'd like to mention the emergency evacuation in restrooms. In case of emergency, there are two main exits out of the chambers. The first is to the left side of the stage, up the stairs, through the doorway, and down the stairway, out the back side of the town hall. The second is out the back of the chambers to the exit doorway, to the stairway, out the front of the town hall. The men's facilities are through the back of the chambers, past the stairway, around the corner on the right. The ladies' facilities are through the back door of the chambers, straight up the stairs, and on the left. Please do not use the elevator in times of emergency. Initially, a review of the minutes for December 12th, 2024. Does anyone have any proposed changes, edits?
You should say excuse.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just say excuse, that's fine.
All right.
And the other thing is, I noticed when I watched the video that Charlie came in late. That's not what I did.
Okay. Do they generally do that with
He was notes taken before he came after the first one.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear her.
Microphone.
Catherine, want to try one more time?
Yeah, Charlie Boyd came in late for that, according to the video when I watched it.
Okay. Does anyone have an emotion with the amendments?
Motion to accept with the amendments.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor? Motion's granted. Going to regular business, old business, Amelia's Way, 260 Old County Road, ID 2405, public hearing continued from December 19th, 2024.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name's Tim Kane, and I represent the applicant with regard to this project. So we're asking for another continuance. It went out for peer review. The town's engineers looked at our engineering, and our engineers respond to the town's comments, and now the town needs a little more time to respond to our engineering comments. So it's
What are you looking to do? Move it to the next meeting?
to the next meeting, please.
Okay.
Motion to continue Emily's Way application till February meeting.
We have a second.
Second, February 22nd. 20th, February 20th.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hang on.
Question?
Just make sure that the time period.
Yes.
Agreed to extend the time period.
We agreed. We know we keep asking for extensions and, part of an engineering process, which I think behooves everybody. And so whatever the time frame is, David, we're agreeable to it on the town making a decision.
Michael, did you have a further question before we?
So I understand that all clocks are stopped here?
Correct.
Correct, let's just state that. Second question I have is, these comments that we're talking about, and I apologize, I wasn't able to be here at the December meeting, but I watched the video, read the minutes. Are we talking about comments to the Crossman Engineering?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We responded to Crossman, now they need to respond to us. They need time.
Got it.
Okay, let's begin again. Do we have a motion?
Yes, a motion to get a continuance to next month for Emily's Way application with agreement from the applicant for the time clock stoppage.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor? The ayes have it. Thank you. Residents at Greenville Farms, ID 2008, public hearing. Hello, Mr. Mancini.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, John Mancini on behalf of the applicant, West Greenwich Road LLC. This is an application for the property located as Assessor's Plat 44, Lot 82, 89 West Greenwich Road. It's zoned in the residential zone R80, and the applicant has submitted and filed previously with the board a petition for a comprehensive permit pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 4553F1. It is proposing a affordable housing component to this overall development. As the board may have recalled, we were back here quite some time back in December of 2022 for master plan approval. That approval was issued with certain conditions. The conditions for the master plan have been submitted, complied with, and we have received their certificate of completeness, and so we're before the board this evening for preliminary plan approval. We've also have a we have a DOT approval. We've provided as part of our submission a detailed application, which includes a stormwater report prepared by Sam Hemingway from Galafalo Engineering. We've also have provided a traffic study as requested at master plan that was completed by Crossman Engineering. The proposal in front of you consists of 37 duplex condominium units for a total of 74 units. Of the 74 units, 25% will be affordable, complying with the Rhode Island General Laws concerning the comprehensive permit. We've also provided adequate parking, specifically 182 parking spaces, and Mr. Hemingway from Garofalo will walk through the layout for both the parking as well as the circulation, which you'll see on the plans is a cul-de-sac. I just want to go through for the record, for the board, the relief that the applicant is seeking. Because of the proposal, there are several different variances that we will need. The first variance is a use variance. The property, as I indicated, is located in a residential zone, but it's the R80 zone. The R80 zone does not permit duplex units for multifamily housing. Accordingly, we will need a variance for that. The density calculation has been provided based upon the ordinances of the town. The calculation for this property yields about 23 units. We're requesting 74 as a result of the density bonus pursuant to the statute. We're asking for a variance of that, and that essentially is part of our application and part of the comprehensive permit process. Your ordinance also limits or prohibits more than one structure to be built on a site. Obviously, we're going to have 37 residential structures, so we will need a variance from that. Your zoning ordinance also provides in Article 12, Section 12.4, that there's a limitation with respect to proposed number of units, not to exceed 1% of the town's housing stock. So we would need a variance for that. We'll need a waiver from your subdivision regulations with respect to the width of the roadway. We're proposing a 26-foot roadway, and the rear required roadway width per subdivision regulations is 30. And then finally, we would be providing or asking for a waiver with respect to the cul-de-sacs because your subdivision regulations limit 25 units per cul-de-sac. We have 34 and I believe 36 based on the plan. So that's all been laid out in our project narrative, which was submitted as part of our application, also describing the basis for which we would need the variances, and again, all in compliance with both your comprehensive plan, your zoning ordinances, and most specifically, the comprehensive permit statute 4553-1. So with that, Mr. Chairman, unless there's any particular questions of me, I'll ask Mr. Hemingway from Garofalo to walk through the site, the proposed development, stormwater drainage, and then we can also talk about the traffic report.
I do have a question about traffic report. I saw from the prior decision from the board that one of the requirements was an independent peer review of the traffic study. Has that been done?
That's a good question. I don't know.
No,
And that would be at the expense of the applicant, according to the prior.
yeah, we typically, when we would hire someone and have crossings typically that company.
Which we can't use.
We can't use, so it's a way of.
I'm sure Mr. Hemingway from Garofalo can do it.
Independent.
Oh, independent.
Good try.
Okay. I just saw that, and I didn't see that anywhere
That's
in the
good- good
materials.
catch. Yeah, no, thank you. So obviously, we would have no issue in complying with that as a condition of preliminary plan approval.
Yes. Well, we can't vote on it until we have it, but,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
um,
I mean, I think it's still important for you to hear the application. At minimum, we can see what comments and other questions and concerns you may have, and we can incorporate them as we go forward.
would the board care for discussion on the issue?
Which issue, is that the traffic issue?
Well, obviously, we cannot vote until we get the prerequisites, of course, right?
Yeah,
So
there's.
It's the
there's
pleasure to
another-
hear the presentation. We have a lot of people from the public here today. And
Yeah.
presumably, some would like to make comments, so.
Yeah, I
wanna
don't
hear it.
disagree. Sorry, go ahead, John.
No, I'm sorry. I just said, I want to hear it.
Yes, okay. Everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a different issue. So my question is, we have a lot of people from the public here today that apparently most likely have an interest in this.
Did we ask them already for this?
Yes.
Why weren't they complying with that in the first place?
Well, I think,
Red,
I mean, we asked for it last time.
I think it might be a town issue. It's a town peer review, but at their expense.
So who's at fault for not showing us it?
Well, I don't think anyone's at fault. I think what the issue was.
Somebody
is-
is.
Well, I think what happened here is that because the traffic report or our traffic engineer is the same engineer that town uses, it probably was conceived to be one that's probably acceptable. But there is a.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah, correct.
The letter of the prior.
But the issue is that it is a condition of master plan for preliminary plan. We did get our certificate of completeness. We are here. We'll comply with it. We don't think it's a major issue. Essentially, we stand firm behind our traffic report. We think the engineer who conducted it is well respected. Obviously, the town uses them, so I don't think that that's a major issue. We'll comply with that. Obviously, we won't, you can make it a condition of final, you can wait till approval, but it'll get done.
So why don't we continue with the presentation of the applicant? And of course, we have a public hearing attached to today's hearing as well.
Yeah, and we can, what we can do is here's Mr. Hemingway, again, go through the site layout, talk about the roadways, the cul-de-sacs, the stormwater, and then we can reserve on traffic if that's what the board wants, to wait till the independent review's been concluded, and then we can bring traffic at that point, or we can go ahead and hear traffic as well tonight. I would suggest to do both, hear the traffic, because you do have individuals who have come, who've taken time out of their schedule to review it, and I'd like to see what they have to say. It would be helpful to us to incorporate also in our plans, so.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll have Mr. Hemingway.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I have one more question.
For Mr. Mancini or for the board?
For the board. Gentlemen, lady, if you look at page 4 of the decision as duly recorded and advertised, the final, next to the final paragraph, just up above the vote tally, it has a condition that these shall be 2-bedroom units. This was the master plan that was agreed upon by this board and the applicant. And, but now we have before us preliminary plans with 3-bedroom units. How do you want to address that?
Let's have Mr. Mancini address that.
Yeah, so that's a good point. Our position is that when we reviewed the record and the transcript of the hearing of the master plan back in December of 2022, that point, if you will, was never memorialized as a condition of approval. It's a point of discussion and one that the applicant indicated that it would review and consider, but it was not a condition of master plan approval. And that's the position that we've taken. I've actually drafted a correspondence to the town, essentially stating that, and stating that that is the position of the applicant, that we are not limited to two-bedroom units. That was part of a discussion, but not a condition of approval and not a condition for master plan to proceed.
Mike, where is that again? Page 4.
Page 4,
Which paragraph? Beginning, top,
2-bedroom units only.
which paragraph are we talking about?
Paragraph 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Last sentence, well, second to the last sentence, I'll tell you.
And I do recall,
It appears that it's quite clear as part of what was voted on.
and I do recall at the time of the meeting that there was no objection from the applicant at that time.
Yes. Not only that, doesn't it have to go to the housing authority for the change too?
No.
Isn't there an approval from them?
No, Rhode Island Housing is not going to deal with bedrooms.
I mean, the application shows one thing and they're gonna do another, so you don't have to change the application?
No, because it's not a question of the location of the buildings. The buildings are the buildings. It's a question of the size of the buildings. And even with the size of the buildings, you can have a 3-bedroom in 1,000 square feet, or smaller bedrooms. Our read of the decision in our review of the transcript is that that was not a condition. If the board takes a different position, clearly you have that prerogative, but our submission is what we've submitted, and it's consistent with what we believe to be the master plan approval.
Do we have the transcript of it?
You got the order. The order says, in additionally being conditions on the requirements, and it goes on with a litany of requirements, including a two-bedroom units only.
Do we still have the video?
Probably.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that meeting, we had technical difficulties.
I mean, we've got it's memorialized in the order.
Yeah.
It's part of the decision, it's part of the.
I'd love to hear our council's initial reaction to this, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ostillo.
It's a recorded decision, what's in their hands. I wasn't at that meeting, so I don't remember any of the discussions. If it's part of the vote at that time, it's a condition of the approval, it's a recorded decision. If that's an issue, something that can be taken up by the applicant at the further stage or resolution being made, you could comment on that. From the board's perspective, you go forward with what your decision says, and we vote it on at that time.
In,
They need to change it they have the right to appeal. You could approve this preliminary plan at some point, 2-bedroom, they could appeal that one piece of it.
in your independent interpretation, do you read this to be the order was limiting to 2-bedroom as read by various members of the board?
Yes, that's how I read it originally.
It was complied by both parties, so it's legal.
I mean, there's other stuff in there about independent review that this board's already discussed, was something that was discussed then. The environmental impact study, which was, we've already performed, traffic study was performed, so there's other items in this order that are being accomplished. So there's an acknowledgement that everybody had an understanding of what the decision was on that date. I'm not sure which,
John was there.
Boyd, member Colvecchio, member Mullen.
Yeah, I remember, it was me and him that we wanted to change. We were the ones that discussed, we wanted to compromise on it. And we said, well, we're gonna compromise.
Yeah, it was Ken and,
Everybody agreed on it, so that made the order, that should be legal.
and there was no objection from the
No
applicant.
objections from, I remember, we're the ones who did it.
Okay.
And it helps with the consistency of the board over time. I have members that have been on it, we all circular events.
You're absolutely right
I
about
have
that.
to go by what we just reported as a decision.
No, I understand that, but it's not, the order's not fulfilled, it's not complete. It's only some of it. It's like, you know,
Well, it's different. The applicant has a different interpretation sitting here today that's inconsistent with what the board believes was the prior order.
And which is, you have to go off the recorded document.
so
I-
it should-
I- Go ahead, Mr. Mancini.
Thank you, Mr.
stop.
Chairman. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not a legal master, but I'm just saying that it's
Well,
not being fulfilled.
I agree. I read the commas differently than what the board's read, but we've confirmed it, and we do have a video. Mr. Hemingway did review that video. I drafted a correspondence. You know, I'll leave it to the board's prerogative. If you want to review the video, you want to make a determination as to the
No, yeah,
preliminary
that's fine,
plan.
but we were both looking at people who brought it up, and, you know, I swear on a stack of Bibles that we both brought up and wanted it downsided. It was agreed upon.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'm not saying my memory is any better or any different than yours. I was here, I read it, I understood it one way. The engineering
court
team
reporter should
reviewed
have
it
it.
one way. We spoke, we knew Mr. Phillips brought it up as an issue. We addressed it as part of our application as to why we believed it was. We submitted a letter, we reviewed the video. We've done our diligence to determine what's the proper course of action, and that's what the applicant's doing.
Was there a court reporter, do you know, at that?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it was a recorded video.
Yeah, and as a practical matter, when the order was signed, obviously it gets recorded. The applicant, do they get a courtesy copy of it?
Yeah,
There was no objection to that? Until
No, there wasn't. No, look, the decision gets recorded. There's a 20-day appeal period from that decision. But again, we didn't see an issue with the decision and don't disagree with the decision. We just seem to have interpreted it differently than what the board's interpreting it now. We didn't view that as a condition that this project was limited to no more than 2 bedrooms per unit.
Mr. Mancini, I wasn't on the board at the time. Were you representing the applicant at the time?
I was, yeah.
I got a question. I mean, this was signed, somebody signed for it, right? It's been how many years later, and nobody's noticed this difference? And, you know, why haven't you addressed this? Not you personally, haven't somebody addressed this? That we need to change that, and we get a piece of paper saying that we've been asked to change it, and we've been asked to look into it, and we've got time to look into it. As me sitting here right now, I thought we had an agreement in paper saying it was going to be a 2-bedroom and not a 3. So now I'm being told that maybe.
So it sounds like the classic case of the parties not having a meeting of the minds. The process is
There's
the
a piece
board
of
makes a
paper
decision.
to sign.
No, I don't disagree with that. What I'm saying is I'm reading it
Well, if you
differently.
say
The
it's a meeting
applicant
of
is
the
reading
minds,
it
but there's a piece of
differently.
paper signed.
So the process, as you know, a decision is memorialized. It's recorded in the land evidence records. Anybody has an opportunity to appeal that decision, whether it be the applicant or it be any aggrieved party. We did not appeal that decision because we didn't believe the need for it. We understood that the 2-bedroom discussion was a discussion and an attempt by the applicant to see if they could achieve that. They've chosen not to do that. It's not practical for them to do that. As a result, we've filed what we filed. We believe we're reading that decision consistent with what we've submitted.
No, right, I can see your side of you, but you can
Right.
see my side of you?
I absolutely see your side of
I'm
it,
sitting
yeah.
here with a total different, I thought we were talking about a 2-bedroom, now we're talking about a 3-bedroom, and we weren't notified about it. Just somebody decided it wasn't economical, or whatever the reasons for it. I mean, this was two years ago, and, you know, there was plenty of time to look at this and address it, and not be addressing it right now, where
Well,
there's speculation. There should
I
be.
agree, but there's, you got to see it from my perspective. There's nothing to address if we read it one way and we're proceeding consistent with our read. It becomes only an issue when you submit for preliminary plan. And that's why it's getting addressed at this point. But if I just may for sidebar, just.
Sure, do you want
Yeah, just
a moment to speak?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
he said there was a technical glitch, you don't know maybe.
I mean, that's a classic order of the board. It's framed in a classic way how we act.
Absolutely, absolutely, it's in black and white. And it was advertised, it was. Yeah,
Let's not drag this out.
Charlie, it's an old Vegas dealing from the bottom. I remember that so clearly now.
Focus on fixing it without finding it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. So my client's read of that section, if you look at it and you focus in on the word looking at, so the point that was being made by the applicant and what the applicant's belief of the decision is that it was going to consider, look at certain parameters, one of which was screening, increased screening for buffering, and then in that same sentence, the idea of reducing to 2-bedroom units. The application before you has been reduced. The number of bedrooms, if you will, is half of what was submitted at the master plan. So it's not the same plan that was submitted. This plan is not the same plan that was submitted at master plan. There has been a reduction of the number of 3-bedroom units, if you will, or the number of bedroom units in general. So the applicant complied with the idea of considering the reduction and considering the 2-bedroom versus the 3-bedroom. So the idea of looking at is not a condition, is how the applicant perceived it and how we've gone forward in design and prepared the application for preliminary plan. And I think that's a significant point, and there's a comma there.
For something like screening, I might agree with you, but it appears that the amount of bedrooms is a very significant factor.
Should have been caught.
No, let me finish. In leaving it to consideration by the applicant as opposed in a final order, that doesn't make sense to me with something so significant. I understand.
On the flip side, something so significant would have much more, would be amplified much differently and more so. I mean, limiting the number of bedrooms and limiting the units to 2 bedrooms only is a significant alteration, especially on a master plan that had a significant number of 3-bedroom units. So that would have been amplified much differently than it was or is in that recorded decision. You know, was it draft?
I understand your
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
That's why it's a complicated matter. That's why 2 years have gone by. It should have been straightened out by somebody somehow. About something.
I agree, but no one is, it's like you're traveling down a road, no one tripped over that obstacle until we got to hear it. So it's not like.
That's how you get, you're a lawyer, that's how you get trapped. You're trapped right now. You don't have a real answer for it. It's not your fault.
Well, he does have an answer.
Yeah.
It's whether it's consistent with the board's general interpretation of something like this. So he does have a response. However, it appears that council's interpretation and the board's interpretation is inconsistent with that, so.
Yeah, there's no other piece of paper saying anything other than a 2-bed.
Unfortunately, all we have is that decision, which is recorded, and I agree that is the decision. And then, in issues of conflict of terms, you look at other items, and the other evidence, if you will, would be the transcript, but in this case, we have the video.
I understand you're saying how big the driveway is, or where the doors are gonna be, but this is 2 bedrooms versus 3 bedrooms. That's a significant, it's not insignificant.
It's not, but also note the fact that the applicant has made a significant effort to reduce the bedrooms and has done so from the master plan to the preliminary plan. So the plan before you has less bedrooms than the initial plan that was submitted.
Correct, but that's not the point that we're trying to make.
Right, my point is that we've satisfied the idea and discussion of reducing the number of beds. I guess the rub, the
You're
distinguishing.
saying you reduced the plat size, not the building size, and that's what's qualified.
I've done both. I've done both. I've reduced the plat size and I reduced the building size in certain
It
units.
should have been spelled out a little bit better, then it should have been caught saying we were gonna reduce the size of the complex.
Oh,
amount of bedrooms,
if-
Not the bedrooms in a single building.
Well, there's two
Is that what
things.
your argument is on that?
No, there's two issues. Right, one is the board didn't limit the number of the unit count. And the board didn't say you can only have X number of units. The board said, look at reducing the bedroom count to 2 bedrooms only. The applicant did that, and it succeeded in doing that by minimizing the amount of 3-bedroom units that were initially proposed.
I give you credit, that's a good argument.
Well,
You're getting better with the argument.
My
all right, well,
concern,
give me another hour and I'll win you over.
my concern is the verbiage is 2-bedroom units only. The term only has to have some meaning, right? As opposed to being discretionary in the context of the entire order.
No, I don't disagree with you on that, but if the intent is to limit the applicant to only 2-bedroom units, then it shouldn't be in that paragraph following a litany of other things that the board asked to look at, to review, to consider. The word look at, looking, look, review, consider, that's not a condition. At least that's not how we perceived it. And conditions are subject to the condition precedents, meaning that don't come back here unless you've satisfied condition precedents. The way that's drafted is not a condition proceeding, and nor could we be faulted in saying you missed that because it's not that clear. It's not clear. It's not.
It's still an order, you're just saying the words in the order are not,
It's a decision. It's a decision.
but it's an order, in other words.
Decision.
I'd call it a decision, and what that means is that decision gives me certain rights. That decision's recorded, and it impacts this property, and it creates a reliance that this applicant has when it goes forward in the process. And that is essentially a blueprint, if you will, of what we need to do to go forward to get the preliminary plan.
I can't see how we can go forward without having, now we got a second piece of information that we don't have. What's next? We don't got the traffic report. Now
Well,
we
the-
can't
the-
decide
the
having
bedroom
2 bedrooms,
count,
3
so-
bedrooms.
The bedroom count doesn't impact your stormwater, and it doesn't impact your impervious space. It doesn't impact the number of units, it doesn't impact the length of the cul-de-sac, it doesn't impact the traffic circulation coming in and out of there, and it doesn't impact the traffic study.
It might impact. I disagree with that. It may impact traffic.
No, it's all on the table. What I'm saying is that,
On the table.
Mr. Mancini, how would you like to proceed, given
We can't get anywhere.
given the concerns the board has about the 2 bedrooms? Would you like to continue with your presentation?
I do, I think.
Instead of getting bogged down?
Yeah, I think you have to hear the presentation, and I think you have to hear from the engineer as to how this is designed. It doesn't affect the unit count. I mean, if you want 74 2-bedroom units, it's still 74 units. They're still taking up the same amount of area. The issue, the concern is that, well, you're going to have more people, which means more cars, and that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, but we have people here that want to discuss, and they don't know whether it's a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom. How are they gonna form an opinion on what they wanna say about their community if they don't know what's coming into their community?
Well, they do, because our plan identifies our plan's detailed, okay? It identifies the location of the units, the size of the units, the amount of parking associated with those units, and we've also have provided elevations to show what these units will look like, and we've identified the bedrooms, the number of 2-bedroom units and the number of 3-bedroom units. So that's a lot of information, and that is what the board can rely upon because the engineering is done to those standards, to those particular elements of the development. If at the end of the discussion, it determines that the unit count, I'm sorry, the bedroom count should be less, you should have more two-bedroom units than three-bedroom units, and that's a discussion to be had, and we'll
Would the
determine whether or
applicant-
not.
Would the applicant be willing to go forward with 2 bedrooms as opposed to 3?
And then you can change it.
Well, it depends, not 100% two bedrooms. I mean, that significantly changes the economic dynamics of the project.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah, it does, exactly, that's my point, it changes the dynamics of everything, the school, having school kids, the school apartment, the traffic, blah, blah, blah.
But we can give you,
Ask council a procedural question. So obviously, based upon the board's belief that the prior decision refers to a limitation of 2 bedrooms, this application is something other than that. Procedurally, what should we be doing as a board? Should we be hearing it or not hearing it?
So, I would answer that by saying that they want to move forward.
So we should hear it.
Application as presented. The risk is that you deny it on the basis that they didn't meet the conditions of the master plan.
So they're gonna take a shot at that we denied it, we can deny it because of that grounds. So it wouldn't be wise for you to do that.
Or
then.
you make
or
that-
I could make a request to amend the condition based upon the evidence that you hear.
I mean, it goes back to your point is again about on that,
I-
he's gonna get locked.
No, I run the risk of a denial all the time. So my point is we're willing to proceed forward to show you that the unit count and the bedroom count works. If the board determines that it doesn't, then we can ask, you can deny it based on that, but you still have to deny it based on a rational, you have to give a basis for your denial. We can also go forward and after the presentation, ask the board to modify the master plan condition. I mean, all conditions can be modified, provided that the evidence has been presented to substantiate the modification.
I know what my recommendation to the board is. Obviously, we weren't going to make any decision today because we do not have the peer review traffic. Mr. Mancini's here with his people and are prepared to give their presentation. We have a lot of people from the public as well that may like to be heard. I suggest we let them move forward with their presentation. We'll hear what they have to say. If any of the members of the public would like to speak, we'll let them hear. Obviously, it's going to have to be continued at a minimum for the traffic study, irrespective of the issue of 2 bedrooms only.
Should we take a vote on whether we should do that, the board itself?
If you'd like to, yes.
I would like to take a vote on it.
All right, let's take a vote. All in favor of my proposal, say aye.
Aye.
All not in favor? Charlie?
Me,
Okay.
sorry.
So let's just keep in mind also, right now, the deadline for a decision is March 12th.
Do you have it, can that be moved by agreement?
It can be moved by agreement.
Do you have any issue moving that by agreement, given?
No, that's fine. I agree to move that. I think you'll need more time for the traffic. Yeah. It might take some more time.
Especially because they use the town's peer review.
Yes.
So it may take a little bit for,
Well, as long as everyone is in agreement that,
We can move the clock.
that no one's going to be harmed by the clock, then I think that makes sense,
Yeah, that's fine.
okay? So the ayes have it in terms of moving forward. So we're going to hear, very good.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Sam Hemingway. I'm an engineer with the firm of Garofalo and Associates, doing business out of Providence. So I'm going to try and keep this brief. This property is located on West Greenville Road. It's an approximately 40-acre or 43-acre piece of property currently farmed roughly a quarter of a mile north of Smith Avenue. The property is roughly 60% open, being fields and the like, with the remainder of it being wooded. Generally speaking, the property falls away to the east from West Greenville Road towards a series of wetland complexes, primarily located on the eastern portion of the lot. But there are some features pretty much dispersed in and around most of the property that are interconnected. The application was submitted to the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management to get verification on those very complex series of wetlands. And we've been actively working. Frankly, the reason we've been so long before coming back to this board, there was new wetlands rules that were enacted at about the time that this occurred, and then a submission was made to the state of Rhode Island about 5 months after the master plan approval. So we advanced the master plan. The plan that's before you on this board, there's a lot of sheets there. There's a lot of engineering data in the full set. I think this one actually speaks pretty directly to the project requirements. So the road configuration is, generally speaking, very similar to the master plan. When we went through the master plan process, the board may recall that in addition to the discussion about bedrooms, there were a number of concerns that were raised at the conceptual level that were to be addressed, or at least considered moving forward. Those related primarily to the turnarounds, that the original proposal that was forwarded had parking along the frontage road effectively, so there was direct access to parking in front of the units, but not in garages. So an effort was made to make more standard turnarounds. There were some hammerheads, and introduce those for more typical circulation, better movement of town vehicles, specifically trash pickup and snow plowing. There were snow storage areas introduced, and the units themselves were modified in type so that they're now standard garage attached units, so that every unit got a garage and a driveway space in front of the unit, cutting the amount of parked cars up adjacent to the road, making it seem a little bit more like a suburban rural road network. In doing that, the number of units went down pretty significantly from what was proposed. I don't have the percentage offhand, but it went from 90 some odd units down to the 74 that is in front of you tonight. So in addition to those concerns, there were some issues that were raised by the abutters at the time regarding buffering to the residential properties. The landscaping is shown on the plan that's above you. You can see that there is pretty considerable vegetative screening added in the most critical locations of this project. So the upland areas on this property are pretty constrained, so that is to say the development zone on this property is limited in size. It's being utilized to get the densities in the project that's proposed in front of you. But there are areas so there was limited opportunity to wholesalely relocate portions of the property or development zones away from those properties. So again, the landscaping was increased pretty significantly along, particularly where the homes were closest to the property lines and where the homes were closest to property lines with sight lines from adjacent units and or homes. So the other thing that was raised at that master plan meeting was the entrance and the separation from West Greenville Road and the turning vehicles and driveway proximity to that location. There was always an island proposed, but there were some backing vehicles and circulation issues right at the entry. So all of those elements were cleaned up with the lot reduction that's before you tonight, and incorporated into the design as it is currently shown. Regarding the specifics of the engineering, as I said, we've advanced it significantly, obviously, since the master plan. I will do a very high-level discussion of the utility infrastructure so that the project is, in fact, served by public water. We have met with the Greenwell Water District on 3 occasions, I believe, and arrived at a specific configuration that works with that department, with that district, as well as provides the optimal operation for this site. That is, say, the best pressures at the units and the most fire flow available to this remote portion of town. There's a water main extension all the way from Smith Avenue. So there will be a new 12-inch main extending all from Smith to West Greenville and from West Greenville up to this property. Along that location, those fronting properties will be given the opportunity to connect to that main as that main is installed. The project will be served by public sewer. It will similarly be extended by connection to public facilities within, or at least immediately adjacent to Smith Avenue in Steer Road. The intent is for a gravity sewer system within the property and a privately owned and maintained pump station within the property. It'll be maintained by the Homeowners Association. It will be served it will serve all of these properties only. It will be provided with an emergency generator to ensure that there are no outages. The configuration of that pump station and the location of the force main has been initially coordinated and provided to the town sewer department. No issues related to downstream capacity have been identified. Similarly, at the current time, the intent is to extend the force main down the road networks, down West Greenville and down Smith. That extension has been approved by the State Department of Transportation, which is the owner of both of those roads. Stormwater management, there is significant stormwater management proposed with this project. The primary focus because it's in a large receiving water body, the primary focus is of water quality on this specific project. So to both treat runoff prior to discharging the on-site wetlands and to the generally speaking within this watershed, there are 3 primary methods that are utilized. There are 2 significant indicated on the right-hand side of the development zone as shown on this property, 2 wet vegetated treatment systems. So those wet vegetated treatment systems, it's a classification by the state of Rhode Island for a stormwater management practice that is effectively, in layman's term, would be a replicated wetland. So it is a primarily water storage, shallow water storage with deeper zones that encourage treatment and significant overbank. So shallow flooding areas with specific vegetation intended on improving treatment. Stormwater storage for flood protection is also provided above that primary surface, but really the largest benefit from these strategies is one of water quality. So it's improving the runoff from the development zone, specifically the roads primarily. The third BNP, or best management practice that we proposed, is associated with the individual homes. So not all, but the homes that back up against resource areas are provided with either stormwater rooftop infiltration, so recharging the groundwater in subsurface systems, or smaller bioretention or rain garden systems at the rear of the properties. All of those specific measures are outlined within the calculations and narrative that was provided to this board, are indicated on the plan, and are currently under review at the state. This project includes two crossings of streams, so which are obviously a critical resource. Because of the nature of those two areas and the amount of area disturbed that is technically regulated, although currently farmed, it has triggered what was referred to as a formal application process, which is an application to actually alter wetland areas. That process is become extremely cumbersome at the state, and that decision has not been made yet. But all of the information that the town has is the same information that was coordinated through nearly a year worth of back and forth with the state. So we're confident in both confident that the findings will be of no significant impacts, and that the alterations that are necessary to get to the upland areas of this property are nominal as it relates to the overall function and values of the wetland complex. We did do some environmental investigations with this property as part of one of the conditions of this board, but also the ordinance in general. There's a need for an environmental assessment. In this case, there was also a specific concern that was raised related to potential contamination. Environmental, phase one environmental investigations were performed based on the previous use, the farm use, specifically looking primarily for pesticides. No conditions that exceeded residential standards were identified through that. The copy of that report was provided to the town. The other side of the environmental study is much more related to wetlands and resource areas. Most of those were touched on in that report, things like stone walls and wetlands and soil erosion. We attempted to touch on all those, but the underlying conclusion effectively is that although there certainly are impacts, the cumulative impacts of these development zones is not significant enough to cause major concern with the overall property. So, because roughly 40% of the property is developed, over 60% of this property will be maintained either as open space, but will actually be revegetating from the currently agricultural use that is on the property now. I'm not sure if there's something else that I should be touching on now. Obviously, I'm here for questions. I can drill down as deep as you'd like to go.
Mr. Chairman, through the chair, if I just may ask a few questions, Mr. Hammond.
Sure.
Sure.
Should we swear him in? You want to swear him in as a?
Yeah, let's swear him in.
Okay. You want to ask him questions before Mr. Mancini?
Yeah, because it's going to break the flow. Well, I was talking to him, but he's going to bring up.
Doesn't matter to you, Mr. Mancini. So.
That's usually how we do it.
Yeah.
As part of procedure, right? He gets the questions, then he comes up.
Well, it's his presentation, it's part of the presentation.
No, he's the legal side of it.
Yes, but he's running the presentation.
He has certain evidentiary questions he may want to ask.
I have no problem
You
with
can ask your questions also.
You want to go first? It's fine. Mr. Mancini has
I'll
agreed that.
yield to you, provided that you give me the opportunity.
It just stays with the flow.
Absolutely, no, I'll yield to you, just give me the opportunity to object to your question.
That's all right. There you go. Thank you, sir. First thing I'd like to touch on is the sewer that was brought up by Mr. Allen. Can you explain to me about the different, why it has to be privatized? I mean, how many other people are going to be hooked up to it?
Because it's condominium, we thought that the private system
So
made sense.
They're not going to be able to tie into it?
Can you repeat that? Who's going to tie into it?
See, he says the people who live along the sides of that, if they want to touch it into the sewer, they're going to have to pay a price to what you agreed to what it is and what, you know, or they don't even have to let them into it because it's private. Say if my house is on that line, is what I'm saying, and I want to go into that sewer system, right? Why can't I tap into it? You know, what's the price of it? It's a private one, it's going down a public road, you know, why is it private?
Because these are private roads. This is a condominium development, so,
Yeah, but it's going down a state road.
I'm not sure that there would,
It's on
no,
state property, it's not on your property.
it is a private main within the public road, that, I won't disagree with that, so,
Well, I'm just saying to protect the people who live along there, they have the right to tie into that if they want to or not. That's one question. So I'm sure you know, a couple of things that Mr. Allen has talked about, you know, on there, you know, is concern to me. Have you read what Mr. Allen said about your?
I do, I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately, and I don't know if you,
Well, he's concerned about that, you know, and the water pressure. You're saying that the water pressure is going to be okay. He says it's, you know, there's a difference there, what he says. Then it gets into the fire department. Have you looked in, you touched on the storm, most of the stuff, about what people asked of you. But I'm wondering why you left out the ladder radius of the turnaround for the fire department that was suggested. And it was also suggested by myself about one of the more dangerous things about that piece of property is that earth berm that's on that property. Has anybody, I wanted to see if somebody would check to see if that could handle any kind of 100-year flood, so it doesn't flood out that zone in there, because how old was that built? What's it made out of? What's the potential problems to the people that are gonna live there? And I don't see any information on that berm. So I'm concerned about, you know, a couple of those things. And I just wonder if you could answer the first couple about the sewer, if you want, you know.
If I may, through the chair, I can answer the sewer. So what Mr. Hemingway is saying is once that sewer hits our property, it becomes a private sewer line. While that sewer line main is on the public right-of-way, anyone's capable of tapping into that line. The issue becomes whether or not it becomes acceptable by the sewer authority with respect to capacity. We can't block you from tapping into the line because we're not going to, you know, what's a good way of saying it? We're not going to collect that sewer. It's going to go to someone else who's going to collect it. But while that sewer line is in our property, it's a private sewer line. That means we're obligated to maintain it. That's what really distinguishes between the private and the public. Private, it's a condominium association. If something happens to that sewer line, if it collapses or it clogs or what have you, it's an obligation of the condominium association.
Yeah.
If it happens on the public roadway, it's a different issue. So to your question and your concern as to whether or not others can tap into that line, if it's not on our private property, then yes, they can tap into it, provided that they have authority to do so by the ultimate agency to which that sewage flowage is going to be accepted.
Would be you.
We're not going to treat the sewage flowage. It's not coming to us.
Who's going to determine what his question was, you know, can they tap? You're saying they can.
Oh, yeah. So let's say you live on West,
Who's going to set the cost on that?
it's the town, whoever is maintaining the affluent,
Okay.
whatever's coming down.
This is not my question, this is Mr. Allen's question.
Mr. Mancini,
And what about the water
One at
pressure?
a time. Let's deal with the
question for Mr. Boyd became because the Public Works Director indication that technical review said that it appears that the sewer line is going to be private even along the public way. And that's what the concern is coming from. Is that what the plans are going to show?
Well,
As private?
I think it's private. It's shown as private because we're putting in the sewer line. The developer is bearing the cost of driving that sewer line there. We can deed that line over to the town. That's what the
That was
Public
going to
Works
be my next
Director wants.
question. Who's got the maintenance obligation of the portion that's not on condominium property?
We would,
right now, the plan that was proposed and submitted to the town is that it would be private to the point of discharge at the manhole. So that's, you know, a quarter mile from the property. That would be a private main. Public Works' comment was that they would like effectively for it to be public so that people could tie to it. I don't think the applicant would object to doing that, right?
Yes, thank you.
It's just, you know, and you're exactly right. But
can we have
if
that-
it's going to be made public, maintenance responsibilities would be borne by the town.
Thank you.
That's a trade. If the
I'm just,
board wants
I
it
thought it was
to
a
be
good question,
public.
so you answered it. But now, his concerns about the water pressure, he doesn't say exactly what his concerns are, but have you spoke to Mr. Allen?
Yes, so I did not get this TRC meetings, the notes from that. I was certainly at the meeting, and I've met with the water company.
The TRC.
I do have them in front of me now. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what it actually says is that the residents should be told of the pressure because pressures will be low at the high point of that site, which is up at the intersection, as they probably are now where that line terminates at just east of West Greenville Road. So there's an existing main there. The pressures, that is the most remote and highest point in their system. We recognize that and diligently worked with the Water District to configure our site to maximize pressure and capacity on our property. If somebody wishes to connect to the line as it exists now, or to the main that is extended by this applicant, the pressures will be less than optimal, but would certainly meet code. The way to get around that would be to put a private booster if you considered 40 pounds of pressure to be unsuitable for your living.
He's suggesting that the people who buy the house make sure that they get notified that they should have a booster in that house.
Maybe I read that wrong.
Any need, that they should, so they should be aware of any booster being on in the house. In other words, they should be aware of it.
Right, so I believe the words talk about Route 116.
Right.
We're
Have you
not
ta-
proposing
My
any
question is,
homes.
have you talked to Mr. Allen about what his things were?
At
I
the
suggest-
meeting and after the meeting,
somebody
I have
should-
not spoken to him since.
One at a time.
I was
The
talking,
law requires we gotta keep that one person at a time.
that's what I'm saying, I was talking, and I wanted, so you should talk to him, not me. Everybody, I'm getting tired every time I talk, right? It's me who's the bad guy around here, all right? Something like that. I was talking, he interrupted me, not me.
And that's why the chair said, Mr.
No, that's what I'm saying, but I'm not the bad guy here. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying, my question to you is something like that. Why, that's what this is all about, for information for you to be aware of the questions that we're supposed to ask you that were brought up by this committee. And you hadn't talked to him about this. You haven't talked to the fire department, obviously, you know, so I'm just wondering why we can't, if we take the time to have these people come out of their life to make suggestions, right, to us and to you, right, that we follow up on and you don't follow up on. I find it a little, disrespectful that you didn't take the time to talk to Mr. Allen about these concerns. Also, the fire department, have you talked to Mrs. Leach about any of these problems and stuff? I mean, what have you done but tell me about storm drains? And then one thing about the storm drains, the flooding that's going on around in there. And one question I wanted to know, which is very dangerous, is that berm. And you hadn't talked to me about my concerns about that berm. I asked to have some words made out of how old it is, blah, blah, blah. And it just seems to get flooded away. That's a very dangerous thing that's there. It's a potential of flooding and hurting people. What is it made out of? What are these things? What are the water pressure? What are these things? What are these answers to this? I just wish you'd been a little bit more prepared to answer some of these questions that were asked from this board to you, rather than just, what you want me to hear. What do you have to say about the fire truck, about the radius, about the fire department? Have you talked to Mr. O'Rourke about this? What about the fire hydrants that he suggested? They want them 800 feet apart, something like that. Have you suggested that? I didn't hear anything about you changing the fire hydrants. You guys, am I not supposed to read this? my concerns about what these people's concerns are. And I would like to see them addressed. I'd like to see them checked off, that you address these problems, and then, you know, we get a copy of how you address them before we even sit at these board meetings. That you contact this person, you had a conversation with this person, that way we don't have to ask these questions like this. And again, this is your job to talk to, not mine. I already talked to him. You know, these are legitimate concerns. What about the fire hydrant? I mean, some of these things are dangerous. That's all I'm saying to you. You know, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying I would do things differently. You know, I would take this piece of paper as a holy Bible. And you come here to make sure all these things are addressed. 2 pages of problems. I didn't hear you address one of these problems on this piece of paper. Not one. And that's your job, isn't it? Thank you. I don't know what to say.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make the record clear that you're not the bad guy here. I'm usually the bad guy, and I'm okay with that. And I don't disagree with your comments with regards to the Technical Review Commission. The whole point of the Technical Review Committee is to take technical issues that are found in the plans and to flush those issues out, to prepare a memorandum so that you, the board, who may not be experienced in those types of technical issues, are made aware of that. And then that is discussed with us, the applicant, in this public open forum, and then we address them. And so I don't have any issue or concern, and I don't think you're doing anything out of your scope in having those questions. I think you're right, we'll address them. And
That's all I'm asking.
no, I don't disagree. And what I'm telling you is that we want the opportunity to address them. We requested that memo, received it today. Yeah, so we received that memo today. So we didn't get the opportunity, but we don't have a problem with that because that is the point of the public hearing process, is to delve into these exact issues and to see what concerns you have, what concerns are derived from the Technical Review Commission, and then address them. So we'll review that. And we're not here because we expected a rubber stamp, if you will, and be out of here in one meeting. We're here because we're going through a public hearing process.
Thank you.
So
I just think that it's very important. Like I said, these people take time to do this.
I don't disagree with you. I mean, look, we started off on the discussion of technicalities and the devil's in the details.
Right.
And that's why it's important to get the details
Can I make another
right.
suggestion? I mean, this is a fairly common procedure, right? So saying you got this yesterday, I don't know whose fault that is, but it should, you're coming here, you should have had it. You should have asked for it.
I'm not blaming anybody because here's the issue. That was dated December 3rd.
You should have asked for that.
It's dated December 3rd. The holidays in between. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's a big issue with that. So, and by the way, those comments are not something that require an enormous amount of engineering expertise or lift, if you will, to respond to. I think we can easily respond to them in a memo after a discussion had with the Public Works Director.
Well, who's supposed to respond to that?
Well, the applicant's engineer is going to respond to that. It's a discussion between engineers. Yeah, that's him, yeah.
As I understand it, they think your points are well taken, which is good. And
I'm agreeing, I'm not.
they're going to address, instead of, let's try to move this a
I
little
just said,
forward.
the excuse you got
Can I
was
ask a
yesterday.
question?
That's all.
Yeah, Mike wanted to go first.
I bow to
Okay.
Kath.
Catherine,
I
you
have a question about the units themselves. Is that something that I can ask now? Okay. I wanted to know, where are the mechanicals being located in them? I don't see it on the drawing.
I'm not sure it's been worked out to that location. There are crawl spaces in some units, there are basements in other units, and if there are conditions, and there are several conditions where neither of those would be provided, it was probably in a closet or under
Will any be up in the attic?
I don't know.
I see there's a spot here that says attic access. Is that a pull-down stairs, or is that a flight of stairs?
I think these are I don't think the architectural elements have been developed to
Okay.
that point yet. We're here a master plan. I'm sorry, for a site
That's a
plan.
very good question.
I also would like to know the headspace up in the attic.
Where would the heating system be on that? For the, like,
Well, a lot of them, they put them in the attic. That's why I'm asking.
yeah, what about I didn't even think, that's a very good question.
Mike, did you have another question?
Very quickly, I just want to confirm with the applicant and his legal representative. So these technical comments, you just got those yesterday or today?
I got this document yesterday. So what occurred was that there was a meeting.
I know it occurred, but
Right,
you
so I'm still
received
not-
these.
I'm
These
still not
comments.
sure what this document reflects, whether or not it is a minute summary or a comment.
This is a committee, this is a technical committee that's required by state enabling legislation. And in fact, it's been strengthened most recently through changes in the state law. This committee met on your application, produced these, which Mr. Boyd is quite correct. When we get these, this is what we operate from, and one of the first things we want to hear is how the applicant has responded to these. And this is fairly extensive questions. I just want to make clear that your group only received these today or yesterday? That's the only question I have.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Messini, did you want to question? Okay.
I do. I just want to, some minor questions. So, Sammy testified with regards to the master plan. Can you tell me what significant changes were completed between the master plan approval and the preliminary plan approval?
In no particular order, it was a reduction in the number of units down to 74. It was a modification of the road terminal endings from hammerheads to a more conventional rotary style. It was the changing of the units to a garage entry types. It was the addition of buffering from residential properties. And it was the addition of snow storage areas specific to the plans.
And do you recall that the master plan submission called for 96 units?
Yes.
And the 96 units, they were on roadways which ended in a hammerhead, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you describe from the difference between a hammerhead and that which is proposed on the preliminary plan?
It primarily related to a hammerhead is a T turnaround, so it requires a hammerhead is a T turnaround, so it requires a 3-point turn. So you nose in, you back up, and then pull out forward again. What's proposed on the plan is a sort of a cul-de-sac orientation, so you can continuously drive around through without backing up.
And do you recall your understanding that the master plan approval consisted of 96 units?
Yes.
And to your understanding, do you know why the applicant reduced from 96 units to 74 units?
It was a culmination of, I think, all of those. It was a change in direction of the project to accommodate the concerns raised during the master plan process.
In your professional opinion, does the 43 acres provide for and accommodate for a density of 96 units?
Yes, it does.
And as designed by you, does this property, 43 acres, also appropriately accommodate a density of 74 units?
Yes, it does.
And in your initial master plan proposal, were the roadways, the cul-de-sacs ending in a hammerhead, were they longer than those that are being proposed here at preliminary plan?
They were very similar in length, actually.
And is it correct that although they were similar in length, they held or accommodated more units than what is proposed at preliminary?
Yes.
There are several variances that the applicant is seeking. one of which is that the road width be less than 30, be no less, the road width be 30 feet. Do you know what you're proposing in a road width?
26 feet.
Okay, and can you describe to the board why you're proposing 26 feet as opposed to the subdivision requirement?
It's primarily related to environmental sensitivity. So we recommend typically 22 feet to be the minimum traversable two-way. Increasing that by 2 or as much as 4 feet, as we've shown, provides opportunity for adequate circulation, but minimizes the amount of impervious area and the environmental implications that has as it relates to pollutant generation. Pollutant generation.
And does this proposal, with respect to the road width being 26 feet, more compliant with the Department of Environmental Management's regulations?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And is that one of the reasons for which the applicant has chosen to reduce the width to 26 feet?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And if the applicant was to provide 30 feet, would that be more? Would that amount to more than mere convenience?
Yes, it would.
One of the town's requirements is that the dead end roadway, which here is being proposed as a cul-de-sac, serve no more than 25 units. Is that feasible in this application?
No, it's not, due to the configuration of the wetlands and the orientation of the upland areas on the property.
Is it your testimony that the design as proposed is more compliant with the regulations?
Yes, it is.
And is it also more compliant and consistent with the actual practical design of the development rather than the application of subdivision regulations?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe for the board the density bonus or the density addition that the applicant is seeking based on the comprehensive permit? The calculations, if you will.
Yeah, so it is, I'm going to have trouble putting that in words, so it is.
Yeah. Doing the math in words is longer. Do your best.
So it is a function of the density provisions allow for increases due to, for this type of development, based on overall land area. The number of units on this property is significantly below the state mandated maximum.
I didn't hear that. Just repeat the last part.
It's significantly below the state mandated maximum.
So based upon the state regulations, is the applicant here, would it be entitled to more units?
Yes, they would.
Okay. Would it be entitled to 96 units?
Yes.
Okay. Would it be entitled to more than 96 units?
Yes, it would.
Okay. And given the comprehensive permit process and the law prescribed, is the applicant permitted or allowed to seek more units?
Yes, absolutely.
The final point is the regulations provide that there be no more than one residential building on the site. Can you describe why it's necessary for the applicant to have the number of buildings or structures on the site?
The reason why, as a condominium project, it's the type of development to be developed would necessitate several different structures.
It would necessitate, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The single-family detached housing necessitates multiple structures on a single ownership property.
But that does not, does that prohibit the applicant from building one structure with 96 units within that structure?
No, it does not.
Does it prohibit the applicant from building one structure with 74 units?
No, it does not.
And if the applicant was to do so, would it be compliant with the subdivision regulations or the
Yeah.
town zoning ordinances?
Yes.
So is it the applicant's choice to have multiple structures for a better design?
Yes, it is.
And in your professional opinion, is the design as presented one that's more conducive to an urban development?
Yes, I believe it's more consistent with the surrounding area and the general makeup of the property itself.
And what's your understanding of the surrounding area and the general makeup of the characteristics of the surrounding area?
Generally speaking, single-family detached homes.
And does this proposal mimic single-family detached homes?
Yes, it does.
Okay, would it do so more than one single building housing 76 units?
Absolutely.
And if the applicant were to develop one single building with 74 units or 96 units, would there be more open space area?
Yes, there would.
So was it a balancing act, in your opinion? Oh, sorry, in your opinion, is it a balancing act between the applicant's desire for more open space, but more urban development?
Yes.
Or more, I should say, more development more consistent with the general character as you described it?
Yeah, that was, I believe, the driving characteristic.
Finally,
Mr. Mancini, I think some of the members in the gallery are having difficulty hearing the witness. If he could get closer to the microphone.
yeah, sorry.
Oh, you didn't know that? Go ahead.
I can hear him, so,
Well, he's basically agreeing to what you're saying.
I'm sorry? Well, that's the whole point of the show.
I know that.
He's my witness. If he wasn't saying what and finally, you're familiar with Article, are you aware of the fact that the town zoning ordinances does not allow an application to provide greater than 1% of the town's units? Are you
Yeah,
familiar with that?
I am.
Can you describe that for the board?
That is a phasing component of the ordinance that requires any project to limit the development within a time period to a percentage of the total housing stock.
And your understanding is the applicant seeking a variance from that or a deviation from that?
Yes,
And if the applicant, to your understanding, is it feasible for this applicant to do this phasing mechanism?
yes,
And if the applicant were to abide by that 1% requirement, would it amount to more than inconvenience of the applicant, to your knowledge?
yes, it would impact the construction costs and implications. And it would affect the construction costs and length of project implications.
Based upon the stormwater analysis that you concluded, could the applicant complete its master plan approval by presenting 96 units?
Yes,
Is there any, in your analysis, is there anything based upon this property, or the uniqueness of this property, that would prohibit the applicant from constructing or presenting 96 units?
no,
So is it your professional opinion that this property could, based upon its size, based upon surface of water, sewer, accommodate 96 units?
I believe it could,
And to your knowledge, the master plan approval was for 96 units?
correct.
Could I have,
Mr. Mancini, the same document that you had previously says 90 units. So, I mean, you went through this whole thing about 96 units, but in a number of instances, this says 90 units.
I agree with you, but my question was, we had proposed 96 units. That was the initial master plan proposal, 96 units.
This states in that the applicant is 45 duplexes of a total of 90 units. I mean, this is saying that this is what you represented. Your name is next to this, so.
I agree, and that's a very good point that shows that the approval has 90 units, we had proposed 96 units. The project that's proposed with the density permitted under the state statute allows 96 plus, and it certainly allows for 90 units. And the land itself also accommodates the 90 units in plus. So that's our point, that yeah, we submitted 96, we're at 70.
Charlie, you had a question?
I have a question. Back to the layout of the development. You mentioned taking the width of the road down. Are there going to be sidewalks in this development?
Yes, there are.
Okay.
Charlie?
Yes, I got a question, or something like that. This board, all we hear constantly, and it's just out of the blue, something like that, is, well, if you don't give us this, we're gonna do that. that argument is going in my head left and right, right? I'm tired of it, but you do have a point on that. But it's like, you know, like, yeah, you're always forcing like your hand on that. So I'm gonna push back on that. What would the cost be for 96 units with the water pressure? Would you have to build a pumping station, something like that? So in other words, doing us the favor of like giving us 76 instead of 96, you're saving money, no, too? I mean, what is, I just want to, would you, engineering, can I ask that? And if you want to put 96 in there, what would you have to change on the size of the water lines and the fire hydrants and the pumping station? What would you have to do? What would you have to change? You couldn't just use this plan that you have for 76, for 96. I can't see how that would work. So the piping, the pressure, the sewer lines, everything would have to be upgraded. No?
No, the pumps at the pump station would likely have to be upsized or potentially operated at a different.
What would the cost of that be? Ballpark figure.
$5,000.
That's it. So it'd only be $5,000, 5,000 to, you're telling me it's only $5,000 more to put in another 20 houses?
No, I said it was 5,000 more to get a different pump in the pump station.
Okay. And, okay, so, but I'm just saying, so, but you don't have the water, you just about have enough water pressure for the 76. How would that pump be suitable for the discharge, or would they have to put booster pumps in the house?
The water system is not fed by the pump system on this property. It's the town water system.
I'm just, like I said, this board all year from every developer is constantly, well, if you don't give us this, we're gonna take that. It gets to be a point where I don't know who's responsible for this, whether it's the state. I know we're gonna follow state rules, but the state ought to be notified. The towns like Smithfield are getting tired of what the state, this me just says, are just forcing my hand that I have to put in these developments in, and then we put in 100, now we're gonna put in, because we put in 100, now we're gonna put in 2 more low-income housings, because we put 100 in, and we put in 2, it never ends.
That's a different issue.
No, I'm just saying,
That's-
I'm just saying, he was preaching about what he was saying about, we're doing you a favor, and stuff like that.
Just so the record.
He's doing that for a point.
I know the point.
Just so the record's clear, I'm in no way, shape, or form threatening the board, and I'm not.
That's how I feel.
No, look, I get it. You have a lot of different projects and a lot of different comprehensive permits in the statute. I understand the concern and the question. My point is that we reduced the unit count based upon the suggestions and recommendations made by the board. We had a plan approved for 96 units at master plan. That is a conceptual plan. It's approved. We can do, 90 units. We can do 90 units. We reduced 90 to 74 based upon the discussion of the bed counts, based upon the screening, based upon other concerns that were addressed at master plan. We could, what the engineer here is testifying is that under state law and given the parameters of this property, the infrastructure that's available to this property, we could do 96 units, we can do 90 units, we can do more units. And I just think that goes to the point of why we're doing 74 units. We're not saying that, we're not threatening anything on anybody. We're saying, we're very confident, comfortable with the design that we're presenting with respect to 74 units. 37 duplexes with the bedroom counts that we provided, with the infrastructure that we're proposing, and the open space that we're proposing. So that's the point.
Let's move on, given we have a lot of members of the public here.
I think that given the timeframes and given the fact that we don't have the we don't have the traffic study opined to or independently reviewed, I think that's best to reserve. That way you have the opportunity to hear from your expert, have him address the board, and then our expert can also address those concerns. The other thing too is, I'm sure your traffic consultant may do a list of questions, comments, and concerns that they may have, and we want the opportunity to respond to that. So we're not doing what we just went through, and we want that opportunity to do that. So if you want to hear public comment, I'm good with that.
We're going to do that.
Okay.
I just want one more suggestion. I just have one more suggestion, that I think in the future, something like that, I don't know how we're entitled to it, something like that, but the school department, I'd like to hear from the school department on some, we keep asking about, where are these children gonna go to school? Is it maxed out? Is it burdened out? Before we make these decisions and stuff like that, that we can't, how, this town, when people think about Smithfield, the first thing they say that I've been here for 56 years, they say about this town, the school department. What a wonderful school department we have. If we keep going down this road with 96 units, 100, we got one going on Lime Rock or something like that, I just wish somebody would address the school problem. That's all I'm saying like that. And that's going to be a question that's coming up that I'm going to ask before we go further. I'd like to have the school department wake up and give a decision on what's going on so we can understand what's going on here too, so we can make some decisions about that. Because this board is not getting, we're not getting enough information from our friends out there. I mean, or anything, it's hard to make a decision, when the only decisions we have to make is because the state says we have to. That's my point. I feel like the state says I got to make this decision.
Mr. Massini, did you want to say something or move on with the public hearing?
No, I think I mean, to address that point, as the board knows, there is no prescribed element that the applicant needs to address with regards to school-age children or the need for school-age children. So we're not, under the regulations, we're not obligated to do a review or study to determine what the impact would be on schools, nor do I believe that the board can deny the application if it believes that it would be detrimentally, that the application would detrimentally impact the schools. That's part of the growth. It's part of what cities and towns do when they develop and they do their comprehensive plan. That's just part of what we do. So
Thank you.
But on the flip side, if the board is requesting of us to provide it information regarding whether we think that these units will have a negative economic impact or positive economic impact, we can do that analysis. Again, it's all part of your purview in seeking information from the applicant that you think is necessary for you to make a decision.
Thank you. It's now 7:32. We're going to open the matter for public comment. If anyone from the public would like to be heard, please come forward, state your name and address, please.
It's Matthew Fague. It's 247 Old County Road. It's Fague, F-A-G-U-E. I might not have the biggest pony in the race here because I live on this end of town. Charlie brings up very valid points. Council, very respectful compared to the last presentation last month with the Lime Rock Road, where I agree that people are attempting, I understand what they can do by state law, but we could do this, we could do that. Environmental, was it a positive or a negative on what could be in the ground there? The berm, is that a dam? Upstream, downstream? Usually there's a plan if that was to break open, what's it going to affect downstream? Loss of life, loss of property. I haven't had the opportunity, I was here for another matter tonight, but are those power lines going through the project? EMF, electricity, farmland, I believe that was part of a hemp farm just previously. Traffic, I'm in that profession. Four-way intersection at Knight's Farm. Right now it's restricted by the town for heavy trucks to go down Smith Avenue. Water main broke on Smith Avenue, not last night, night before. The infrastructure's old. They're gonna be taxing it. As far as the houses on West Greenville Road, you got Gloucester on one side of the yellow line, Smithfield on the other. I'm sure if I asked how many people are from Gloucester here, there's those that are gonna come up. I don't have sewers. If the sewer line was to be brought by those houses, do they have to tie in, or are they taxed whether they tie in or not? Does the sewer authority require them to pay on a tax because of the frontage going by their property? So those are my concerns. And living in town, being a taxpayer, schools are a big issue. I think I see two members of the council here tonight. One of the previous planning board members, I think did a great job, and was doing a great job, is now on the council. I think everybody here has the same concerns. Charlie, you're very vocal, keep pushing back, and everybody else. I think it's a fair representation of the taxpayers in town. But again, from the state level, forcing it down our throat, schools and infrastructure. The ladder trucks in town, I'm in public safety. Why should the trucks have to do a three-point turn to turn around? They should be able to drive in safely, turn around and drive out. When they put a truck on those roads, whether you got the ladder extended or the outriggers out, you're going from a 26 road, 12, 14-foot wide truck with the outriggers, 12 or 14-foot wide truck, and then you got the outriggers out, the road's impassable. So now, how do you get additional equipment up and down the road? These are things that to be considered. I just appreciate your time, and I appreciate what you brought up for points tonight.
Thank you.
My name is John Tucker. I live off West Greenville Road. Couple of questions I have. I've looked at the plat map that shows the sites of the testing in the ground for contamination. And my family has lived on West Greenville Road since the late 1800s. And when I was a little guy, back in the late 1800s, I watched the Knight brothers spraying that land, and they often wore full rubber suits and respirators. My credibility is strained to be told there's no problem in the ground there. I don't understand that. Across West Greenville Road, on the west side, there was a house that was put in a former apple orchard. They had to scrape the topsoil off. And they must have all been spraying with the same stuff. So I'm puzzled over that. I have to tell you that. Those results have me kind of befuddled. Another thing is, when I was a young lad, I used to go over there in the orchards and I'd hunt for arrowheads, and I'd find some. So I'm wondering if there's been an archaeological impact study done to gauge the impact of any potential native presence on that land, burial site or dwelling sites, I'm not sure. Just a question. That's it for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, a comment directed to this gentleman. You're doing your job. Keep up the good work.
My name's Kathleen Lawrence, and I live at Orchard Gate. First of all, thank you for holding them in what they need to do to properly do what we need to do. How many parking spaces have you provided? 182. So there's enough room, so if it snows, they can move and you can, okay. What concerns me most, well, not most, there's more than one concern, is you've got one exit. If there's a fire in that condo, any of those condos, it's going to spread like wildfire. You see what's going on in California. There should be two exits. I know you're going for a variance, but why don't you have one entrance and one exit? So if the fire department can get in there, because right now, that's going to be a catastrophe. And all it has to do is have a good windstorm and it's going to go over the fence that you're going to put up, I hope. Yeah, in December, you said two bedroom. I was here for the December meeting, and you said 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom will increase the flow of traffic. How close are the property lines to the condo?
This is for public comment. If Mr. Mancini would like to answer the questions, he's free to do so, but it's really meant for public comment. Mr. Mancini, do you care to address the questions or not? I mean, I'm happy. I just want to make sure you're comfortable with it. Okay, very good.
How close to the Orchard Gate condominium are the units going to be?
So we're following the setbacks to our property line, so I'm not sure how close your units are to our property. So you'll see from the plan, right here. It's close. There's a 25-foot buffer, so we're minimally 25 feet away from our property line, the bottom. So I don't know how close your development is to the property line. Well, our property survey, we don't know what the side setbacks, rear setbacks are of your property. But we do have a 25-foot buffer.
What about this? Somebody came here last time and said, in the center of that lot is a water pipe, a water line. Did anybody ever figure out what that was about? There was an elderly man, I don't know if he's here tonight. He said he's lived in Smithfield, Greenville, all his life. He said in that lot, in the center of it, runs a water line.
Member of the board or someone from
No, somebody from the
the
area.
public? It spoke.
I'm just concerned that they didn't address some of the things that the board wanted to address, and that was 2 years ago. Now you've got a deadline of what, till March? So if the council doesn't agree with what they want, they're going to go what? Daddy doesn't give me what I want. I'm going to go see the state because they're supposedly low income. And I have to tell you, I was told at the last meeting that the lowest was going to be $325,000. I couldn't afford that. So I don't know how that can be considered low income.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to be heard?
Hi, my name is Donna Armstrong, and yeah, and I live at 125 Smith Ave, Orchard Gate. And it concerns me because there's a 25-foot buffer zone or setbacks to my condo. So when they go to build these townhomes, they will probably be filling in land, putting a berm in, not concerned too much about wetlands, although they say they're going to recreate a wetland atmosphere. What concerns me most is flooding in my condo because I sit right behind where they're going to build. And I'm sure it concerns my neighbors as well. So I'm going on record today to say if there's any kind of water damage to my property, I'd like them to make sure that they are accountable for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathy DeLuca. I live at 125 Smith Ave. My concerns are the same as the majority of the ones that you've already heard tonight. Mr. Boyd, I would like to thank you for your comments, much appreciated by the public. And council, I would like to thank you for your work as well. My concern is the flooding, pretty much. And I had a question on the number of units. When they said they were approved for the 90 or up to 96, which they reduced, is that based on the full scope of the property or just the buildable portion of the property? Because you can see with the wetlands, everything is just pushed to the front, which really just looks horrible to me, but that's personal opinion. And the other thing is, well, I guess maybe it is just, the density is just, I think it's just overwhelming for the space that it's put in. And with the number of waivers and I think I counted up to 6 that they needed for the development, I just think it tells you that that's not the right fit for this land. With the wetland issue, the berm issue, the flooding issue, it just doesn't seem right. I don't know, that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public that would like to be heard tonight?
Hello.
Hello.
Tom Lang, 77 West Greenville Road, so I'm up in the upper left-hand corner there.
So on the diagram, one of the issues I have is the buffer. They look like they have a lot of trees going down to the left and then way off up to the right, but where my property line is, I don't see anything. So that's one of my concerns, is that we have a proper buffer, so they're not right on top of that. You know, I know they did a little bit of work up there, but
This is the second one?
I'm on top left,
Oh, you're top.
all the way to the top left.
Oh, yeah, it does stop, yeah.
Yep, that's me. Half in Harmony, too. I get to pay Harmony tax. And then the other issue is going to be the runoff. I don't know, they've done a little bit of work up there, not very much, but I had the worst flooding this spring than I've ever had. I've never had really flooding in my yard, and I got the pictures just showing that, you know, a lot of water back there, and they haven't even done them very much yet. So I'm really concerned about that as a possibility. And I'm on well water, too. So I'm concerned about, especially with the pollutants that are in there. My wife used to watch Mr. Tucker in his raincoat spraying all the chemicals in there. And I'm just worried that with all this disruption of everything, you know, it's going to affect my water quality. So those are the concerns that I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that'd like to be heard?
My name is James Tucker. Okay, I grew up on 679 West Greenville Road, and my son currently lives in that house. My brother was there. I have a question about the sewer line and the water line. How far down West Greenville Road does it go? Can you answer that question? Again? 1,400 feet, okay. Because I was wondering if it was going to go down as far as my son's property, which is the one with the trees. No.
No, it's ending.
It'll end before that. Okay. And the other thing about, because of the way that sewer line runs, I mean, it's definitely downhill from the Knights Farm area, right? Yes. So if somebody on that line, or on the West Greenville, was to plug into that sewer line, the public part of it, how would that sewer, that effluence, if you will, would that have to be pumped uphill? And would that be, since that's the public part of it, whose pump would that be? Would that be the town's? I'm assuming it would be, right? No. Oh, so that pump would affect the whole line, even the public part of it? So that's my question. If it only affects the condo, I mean, how's it gonna go up the hill to Knights Farm in order to get to, because right now it flows down Smith Avenue. You follow?
Okay, thank you.
Am I missing? I don't know how.
Well, why don't you push over a little bit? Do you mind sharing the microphone?
The design, so the low point of this property is in the northeast corner of the site, so that all of the sewers within the new road system will be gravity system to a pump station. From that pump station, it will be under pressure all the way down to Smith Avenue.
It will.
So that if you connected after the pump station, you would need to connect with a pump.
Oh, you would?
That pump would need to be owned by the homeowner.
By the homeowner.
Right.
Okay.
And the force main would be, again, that's a dispute, right? Not a dispute, that's a discussion. Either it would be a public main, in which case anybody who wanted to connect with a pump could, or it would be private and precluded other people from connecting to it.
So it's academic because it's not coming down from my son's house as far as I'm concerned, but it would affect people who are further up on West Greenville.
It might be possible to get a connection from your son's house to the gravity, to the pump station, but that would have to be by agreement. That would be in the private portion.
Okay, that's interesting. And the trees that are on my son's property that's separated. First off, what's the setback from the property line to that portion? That would be kind of the bow that's on the upper left-hand side there.
The whole property has a 25-foot.
It's 25 foot?
Yeah, there are areas where those homes are, from that property, are upwards of 60 feet from the property line.
Yeah, it's not.
But the minimum would be 25.
You see the property I'm talking about, right?
Yes, it's the one with the.
With the row of trees?
Yep.
Yep. And
So those houses are, I believe, there's about 30 feet from the property.
Okay. And those trees, they're on your property? They're on their property?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell me, I mean, are these going to be, when they're put in, are they going to be of size or?
Yeah, I could tell you the specific size. Typically, they're 6 to 8 feet tall evergreens planted on 10 foot on center.
Okay.
Typically,
And
I can tell you the specifics if you come see me. I'm happy.
That's close enough. And if they were to be decimated by deer or something, is it your responsibility to replace them?
Yes, the species that we pick tend to be deer resistant.
Deer
but yes,
resistant.
yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to be heard tonight? Okay.
Bottom left.
We didn't get your name, sir.
Anthony McCuno,
And your address?
125 Orchard Gate,
Thank you.
bottom left. Building 13. So that's right in our backyard. I'm a little confused with the 25-foot bumper. Is that from the property line or is that from our building? What
Property line.
property line? Okay. There's different matters. There happens to be a wall back there. Now, I don't know which side of the property line that wall is. Supposedly, it's a 200-year-old wall that no one can touch. If you want to call it a wall, it's in need of repair. Now, being that it can't be touched, I wish someone would have told the people in the Hempfield that it couldn't be touched. It's in disarray. I was just wondering what side of the property line that falls on and who's responsible for repairs.
I don't know the answer to that.
I can't read it, I can't see it on the plans.
So I think, so to answer your first question, the buffer is 25 feet on our property, in from our property line. So it's 25 feet from the property line going in towards the development. That's the buffer. The wall, I don't know, on the wall, I don't see it, but I think it probably delineates the property line. So it's probably,
On which side of the property line is the wall?
I think it may be the property line. And I don't know if it's on the plans.
Who's responsible for repairs on that wall?
I don't think anybody has to repair it unless it's an imminent danger to somebody.
No, it's no danger. It's a danger to the eyes.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't think there is an intent to repair that wall. It is, generally speaking, bounds the two properties and has.
So the bumper will be at least 25 feet from that wall?
Generally speaking, now, it's difficult to, a property line is a straight line and a wall is, you know how they are, they fall apart and it's 5 feet wide. Generally speaking, the wall follows.
But it's either on your side or
Yeah,
it's on our side?
it's very near to being one.
So if it is on your side?
I don't think there's any intent to touch the wall with this project.
Well, I don't know what to say now. It depends on whose property the wall is, right? If it's on this side, if if their property is on this side of the wall or the other side, who's responsible for it? That's the only question I have.
It's a matter for surveyors.
The survey, yeah. Thank you.
The problem would be the value of the stone wall itself would be the problem, but in this town, you can't touch it anyway, so you can't, nobody can sell it or remove it.
I'm sorry, I can't.
The stone, in this town, a stone wall, right, can't be touched, so they're concerned about who owns it, it would be the value of it, which would be extreme, but it can't be sold, can't be touched, it can't be nothing. It's just, it's gonna be left alone, and stuff like that. If you feel that, it's borders the line, something like that, if you wanna pick up a stone and put a stone on it, or something like that, but you can't go higher than it was, you can maintain it if you'd like.
Well, like I said, it's falling apart.
Unfortunately, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like that all the way down the property line, it's just,
Can't be touched.
right in back of our building, right in back.
They can't take it down, they can't remove it, they can't do nothing, either can you. It can be repaired. Right.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking, if it can be repaired.
Can you
And
request,
who's responsible?
can you request that? In part of the,
Well, I mean, if it's going down the property line, either party could choose to put the stones back on their side and
Yeah.
put that on the wall.
that's what I'm saying.
It has to be done in the same method as it was originally built, which is maybe don't walls, as far as they collect the rocks from the all fields and just don't.
Right,
And that's where it goes.
that's what a lot, yeah, right. And, the people that were working the hemp field, they came across a stone while they were plowing and then threw it over there. I don't know, I don't know how many times it was plowed before then, but in the last, I don't know, 3 years when the hemp field was there, 3 or 4 years ago, that's what happened there. Plus the traffic came in right alongside that, and, they moved this, they moved that. So it's just a matter of where the property line is, where it falls.
That's
on one
correct.
side or the other.
That's right.
All right, so where do we go from there? Mr. D'Agostino, is he still part of the town? Does he still do the wall assessments?
D'Agostino?
Yeah, no?
Robert Leach.
Robert Leach. Okay. All right. I mean, I personally built it myself, I've done cemeteries and stuff like that, so it's just as simple as just stacking them. You just wanna leave them alone to a point, you just, you don't really wanna fix them, take them down, you know what I mean, you just want them to be safe, basically.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like a,
Some like redhead, some like blonde. you know
All
what I
right,
mean?
well, at least we know where the buffer is 25 feet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public that would like to be heard tonight on this matter? Without anyone coming forward, we're going to leave the public hearing open for the next hearing that we have. Is that correct? Correct. We agree that the clock, there's no,
Yes, so we'll agree that, yes, it's suspended and we can, put that in writing.
So you can make a motion, do you want to pick a date now?
Yeah, we should continue it to a date certain.
So that way.
February's not going to be practical, right, to get a study done and peer reviewed, or? Given all the issues, I think it would be prudent to go to March. Do you have any problem with that, Mr. Mancini?
I don't, but what I do want to just confirm is that we do put some parameters on the time period in which the town is going to go and get a independent review. I don't want it to take, if we can get someone on it
But
within 30 days and then at least have a report within 30 days.
how long does your consultant need to digest and review prior to the March hearing?
2 weeks.
Okay, so to the extent the town is going to comply with that component, it needs, it needs to be to Mr. Mancini at least 2 weeks prior to the next hearing on March
Yeah,
20th, I believe.
So as Mr. Rosillo said, if we can get that report by the end of February, the 25th or the 27th, then we can have.
Do we believe that's a doable timeframe? Okay.
If there's a problem,
Yeah, we'll coordinate it.
just
Okay.
all you can do is reach out, I can reach out to the attorney.
So the plan is to get by the end of February, the town's consultant peer review material. The hearing is continued to March 20th, as well as the public hearing remains open as well. Any other further?
Clock is suspended. The actual expiration of the clock is March 12th.
12, so why don't we agree to suspend it to April 12th?
April 12th. Okay. Do we need a motion?
Yes, you have a motion to continue public hearing until March 20th and suspend the time clock for April.
All right, a motion to continue the public hearing and with agreement by the applicant and the town to suspend the clock till April 12th. And just a continuance of this Residents of Greenville Farms application until the March 20th meeting.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All not in favor?
Just when you don't get motion, make sure to remind everybody in the public is their notice also to reappear on that.
Okay.
They don't get a separate abutters notice that they did.
Okay. The ayes have it. For everyone in attendance, there'll be no separate notice of the next hearing. So today's public hearing is notice of the next hearing to the extent you wish to be present and heard. It'll be March 20th, 2025.
Mr. Chairman, I have one last question of the applicant before we close. The DEM permits, the wetland permits, have you had any indication back from that department as to when you may expect feedback on them? Because there were significant, it's a formal permit, as I said, and there were some questions in regards to other environmental situations out there. So have you had any feedback as to when you expect to get comments back?
Not of substance. So I have spoken to the person who's responsible. By now, it's been 4 months since I spoke to him, and he gave me no data back.
So they've had your submission for 4 months?
No, they've had my submission for 18 months. They've it completed public comment stage 6 months ago and is down to a decision maker. And it has been at that point for 6 months.
Thank you very much.
Moving to new business. Considering, discuss, and act upon amendment to the zoning ordinance adding a new use category for short-term rental units.
People should stick around for this one.
I didn't. On this matter?
I know tax.
I know who you are. Yes, you're
I'd like to ask Mike Phillips a question before all of us. No, on school-age children. School-age children. Jim? Donna. No, no.
I'm not quite sure what the legal backdrop is. Is discretionary. The question is whether that was discretionary. I don't know. It doesn't look like it.
I was up with my kid.
Because they stand here, right? They're like talking, right? You can't hear anything on the video, so.
That gentleman.
Can't hear anything.
Can I ask Mike a question? Mike, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I had sent you an email about finding out how many school-age children live in each development in town.
Yeah.
Have you got anything on that yet?
No. Oh, there's a 40, but she's talking about.
I'm talking about actually how
development.
many right
Yeah.
now live in each development.
Yeah, I did have a discussion with the superintendent about that, so hopefully we'll get a number from them.
'Cause I
Because
was-
they get it from the bus company.
Yesterday, I was stopped again by Georgiaville Village Green,
Yeah,
and a huge number of kids coming off the bus there.
yeah.
So I don't think we anticipated that when that went through review.
Certainly did.
No.
There were three-bedroom units.
Yeah.
The next matter is the zoning ordinance.
Correct. This is an ordinance that looks to regulate short-term rentals. Basically, people were putting up their houses on Vrbo and other, B&B sites, listing them. And I know that there have been issues with a couple of them. The town is responding to that by coming up with an ordinance to regulate them so that there's some accountability and we have someone to contact when we have issues and, a way to follow through and enforce, some reasonable standards on them. We've had a discussion with some other people who are looking to maybe make this, because the way it's set up now, it's permitted in all the zones, by right. There's been a discussion about possibly making them special use permit uses and having, a lot of the conditions here serve as the objective criteria for them that we're required to have for any special use permit use. So, that's kind of the discussion we want to have, I think, about this is, do we want to do this as a permitted use and have, it would basically be the zoning official who would look at this and make sure that all the requirements, laid out here in the different sections are met. And if we opt to go with a special use permit, then it'll go to the zoning board for review, and they'll review and make sure all the standards are adhered to. So that's essentially, the substance of the ordinance.
And you're looking for our input on that?
Yeah, I mean, if there are strong feelings, I don't know if anyone's, had an experience with them, or, I've stayed in them. I know that there are some around the lakes.
I have some input, having owned a home down in Narragansett.
Yeah.
Now, I went online, Narragansett has a very strict policy.
Yep.
And I'd like to see some of the policies from the other towns that have already enacted these.
Mhm.
They
This is from
require
another town
an
in Rhode
insurance
Island.
policy. They have inspections every year.
Mhm.
They have certain fees and fines go up according to, how many times you've been found guilty of an infraction.
Mhm.
I'm also concerned about the quality of life of the people who have to live around these units, because especially in town here, we have so many condos that share a single wall. Now, you're going to have somebody come in with maybe 4 kids, every 30 days, a different group of people, and you're subjecting one of our people that live in the unit next door to all this disruption that can occur. And it's also, like down in Narragansett, it's changed whole neighborhoods.
Yeah, I don't believe we're to that degree, but we have had issues with them.
I'm thinking around Bryant College, you know?
No, I know. I mean, we've enacted, rules about, what occupancy be of unrelated individuals. Like a lot of university towns face that problem of, kids living off campus and becoming frat houses. So that's definitely a concern.
I wrote some notes down here. Now, also, down there, they've hired a company to monitor because of the cost of all the problems. You have to send somebody out to do an inspection and respond to these complaints. I recently, my husband had some conversation with our own building zoning department, and they're not even able right now to keep up with going out to make sure your permits have been completed correctly. So how can we ask them to do this? I mean, we'd have to put how many staff on? Or are we going to have another outside company monitor these?
Mhm.
Yeah, they have a permit fee down in Narragansett that's much higher.
What is it in Narragansett?
Any violation, let me see right here. Short-term rentals, annual registration fee is $50 if you're a resident, $100 for a non-resident. The annual permit fee is $375 and $750. Reinspection fees every year are $375. So they've been very aggressive with handling these. The owner has to upload a copy of a $1 million liability insurance policy. Building code inspection. They actually go out and do a building inspection according to the number of the bedrooms and the egresses from the bedrooms, and give you a certificate telling you how many can occupy the bedrooms. And the bedrooms, also, they monitor the size of the windows so that they have egress windows.
That's covered in section 512-4E, as far as.
They do the number of parking spaces per bedroom.
Yep, that's covered in that section as well.
They only issue a certain number of permits per year. And they have a third-party inspector that processes and schedules the inspections. And they, just like this one that we have, they prohibit weddings, banquets, bachelorette parties, corporate events. And you have to post the rental permit inside the door, and that's so that when the police come for a noise complaint or whatever, they know who to call and contact.
That's
And
it.
then they put huge orange signs on the outside front door of the house, so that everybody knows there's a violation.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
if they
that's
get
part of
called
the
again-
ordinance too, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is an education for me, although we've had problems in our neighborhood too. There's nothing on the books now that regulates this kind of holy, wow. So
It's just a state statute.
Yeah, it says that you can't prohibit it.
Huh. So I mean,
Surprise.
we've had illegal commercial marijuana growing in rentals in my neighborhood. We've had people pave over side yards to add additional parking. So there's nothing regulating this right now. This is going to be like this. I mean, you talk about this technology, and then 31 days and everything else that's going on in this crazy world. This could become Wild West.
Yeah, I'd like to see policies from other towns that have already gone ahead and,
Well, this is from another town, so.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have quite the problem Narragansett does, but, because, yeah. I mean, I lived down at URI too, so I was one of the people living in one of those units down there, and we weren't alone on our street, so.
That's historical, but it sounds like it's gotten out of control down there.
Oh, yeah, it's
because
taken over,
developers
it's taken over whole neighborhoods.
Developers look at this as like prime fruit that they can take advantage of and just, rent them out.
Let's
only
open
thing
this up for comment, because I think someone's.
Oh, sorry.
Would like to be commented.
I also
It might
wanted
be
to,
helpful.
also wanted to mention the fact that we could have whole condominium complexes that people decide, well, I can make a lot of money and just buy a unit and rent it out.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
And we changed a whole area of town. Yeah,
This could be a
exactly. Or an attic that has a stairway going up into it. That's why I asked about the height.
That's the problem on Lime Rock.
Welcome.
4 bedrooms, we're gonna rent them all.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Rachel Toppy, 26 Waterview Drive, Town Council. I did check with the solicitor before, just to make sure it was okay that I spoke, and he said it was fine, and you guys are doing a great job, by the way. So I'm just here not to influence you in any way. I'm just here to provide factual information. I just wanted to make you aware that well over a year ago, I started looking into doing a zoning ordinance in regards to short-term rentals. And these past few weeks, I've been doing a lot more research, and I will be sponsoring that along with Councilman Ionati. Randy knew about this and the solicitor, so I didn't know that this was going to be on the agenda. And I'm sure Mr. Phillips had no idea that I was doing this either, apparently, which is fine. But it could be totally different than what you have before you. So I would like some consideration of that. And just so you're aware of that, and if you do consider this, that's your choice. I would also like consideration of one that I will be bringing in front of you as well. Like I said, it could be drastically different, may not be, but just want you to keep that in mind. So thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public that would like to be heard on this? I think it's a good idea to continue, given the concerns raised by Catherine, as well as the indication of a counter proposal. So why don't we move this for further discussion?
Yeah, we can table it, and
To-
I
to
don't know
table
if
the-
Rachel is going to have something soon that we can look at. I was told by the solicitor to get it before you.
I
so.
understand. We want to do February or March? Or when do you believe you will have your proposal?
Well, I'm not trying to rush it, so I would assume within a month or two.
So do you want to table it to March or April?
Yeah, let me say March.
March?
Is there a reason why it needs to get done before it's by March?
No, I was told to introduce it.
You were told, oh, okay, I was wondering what the origin was.
Yeah.
What was the origin of it?
The solicitor.
Oh, thank you.
Why don't we table it to March 20th for now?
Okay.
Okay. Finally, the last matter of new business is public comment. If anyone from the public would like to be heard on any issue, please come forward. Not hearing anyone coming forward, we will close public comment. Do we have a motion?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second.